A nation and the people on the move, keeping you up to date. Belmopan Weekly.
Tonight on Belmopan Weekly, the 9th Amendment is passed, ratified and signed into law. An innovative teaching model is introduced in Belize. Plus, information and communication technology revolutionizes Belizean governance. These and more top news stories. Good evening and thanks so much for being with us on this Thursday, the 27th of October. I'm Dawn Mitchell. It is now law, the constitutional amendment that places public utilities permanently in the hands of the government and people of Belize. Last Friday, the House of Representatives debated and passed it. On Monday, the Senate ratified it, and Tuesday afternoon, the Governor General signed it into law after the Court of Appeals lifted an injunction by the former owners of BTL known as the Ashcroft Alliance. Ada Herrera looks back and reflects on the constitutional amendment, which is now law and which most Belizeans still remember as the 9th.
It was perhaps the most debated piece of legislation in recent history and represents arguably the most important national accomplishment since independence, as PM Barrow noted in opening the debate last Friday.
A watershed and a kind of second coming of Belizean independence.
We recall that the initial introduction of the amendment, as it was originally proposed, sparked immediate debate. It was a long process from then till now, and in the end the amendment succeeded because the majority of Belizeans were always in support of nationalization in principle, because valuable contributions were made by genuine organizations and the public at large, and because the government listened and incorporated those contributions. The passing of the bill was therefore, for the PM and his government, not just a day of celebration, but also a day of thanksgiving.
In particular, we are grateful to the Belize Evangelical Association of Churches and the Belize Council of Churches. Their advocacy, which we knew to be genuine and unbiased, persuaded us early to agree to amendments. Then, Mr. Speaker, as the consultations and public debate proceeded, we became convinced that there should be a change additional to the ones agreed with the churches. The overall result of all this is, first, that all language in the bill that purported to oust the jurisdiction of the courts is removed. With hindsight, therefore, we might have stayed away from the ouster clauses. This is especially so because while those clauses were designed to make assurance doubly sure, upon reflection, we are convinced that even without them, the constitutional enshrinement of public utility ownership cannot be overturned. As this is in response to the public outcry, it is proof, as the UWI professor pointed out, that in our country, this government is accountable and democracy works.
The PM also thanked those who fundamentally opposed the bill, though they were clearly in the minority, for nevertheless making their contribution to the democratic process.
My democratic convictions have obliged me to incline my head in the direction of those that genuinely still have reservations about the bill. But if I bow, I do not genuflect. They have had their say and we respect it. They must in turn not only respect but cede the day to the majority, the vast majority that supports and indeed rhapsodizes the victory. For this is ultimately, Mr. Speaker, a glorious hour. And testament to it are the thousands of Belizeans out here at the steps of this National Assembly and overflowing Independence Plaza. They bear celebratory witness and ecstatic acclamation to a foremost triumph of nationalism.
And the Prime Minister concluded by thanking the thousands of Belizeans who demonstrated their full support from the initial introduction of the bill in the National Assembly on July 22nd, who publicly expressed that support throughout the countrywide consultations and who returned to the National Assembly in massive numbers last Friday, October 21st, to register once again their full approval with the PM and his government's objective of enshrining in the Constitution majority ownership and control of public utilities by the government and people of Belize.
So it is to them, Mr. Speaker, it is to the people that we now give thanks. Those inside this National Assembly and those outside this National Assembly. Those at their farms and in their homes and at their work. And so, Mr. Speaker, we go forward. Secure in the knowledge that we are doing the right. Buoyed by the cheering solidarity of the wave upon wave and rank upon rank of those that have descended upon Belmopan this morning. And certain, Mr. Speaker, of the judgment of posterity that in the story of the United Democratic Party, this shall have been our finest hour.
Ida Herrera for Belmopan Weekly.
As we noted earlier, the bill was ratified by the Senate on Monday and signed into law by the Governor General Tuesday afternoon, immediately following the lifting of the injunction. We can now confirm to you that the new law was gazetted that same day, October 25th, 2011. And so, in accordance with the Belize Constitution, light, water, and telephone will now remain permanently in the hands of the people and the government of Belize. We'll be right back with more Belmopan Weekly in a moment. Stay with us.
Belize's children are not for sale.
Protect us.
Put an end to commercial sexual exploitation.
Let us not, by our inaction, become accomplices to sexual exploitation.
Every year, thousands of people travel to foreign countries because of a promise for a better life. Many times, however, the promise of better wages, a better job, and a better life for themselves and their families turns out to be a lie. They become victims of human trafficking. You could be a victim of trafficking if your employer or someone acting on his or her behalf is holding your passport, cedula, birth certificate, or other travel documents with or without your consent. Someone has tricked or forced you to leave your country. You were not told the truth about the kind of work you are doing. You are forced to work in order to pay off a loan debt. A stranger has paid for or helped you to get your visa. If you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking, visit or call the Ministry of Human Development Office or the nearest police station.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, thanks for tuning in. More top news stories now. The Ministry of Human Development and Social Transformation would like to inform the general public of the relocation of its Human Development Office in Dangriga Town. The new address is number 59 Penn Road, Dangriga Town. The telephone number 502-0038 remains the same. The move was effected in an effort to improve service delivery to the public. The government of Belize continues to improve sporting facilities all over the country as a part of its initiative to keep young people healthy and productive, and also to nurture our young talent. Belmopan Weekly's Rudy Aguilar headed west to Georgeville for the opening of a new football field.
Tired of waiting for the formal game to begin? He just goes ahead and kicks the first ball. And he also stops the first would-be goal of the season. This was just the beginning of the celebrations held last Sunday at the newly inaugurated Georgeville football field, now having changed its name officially to the Gertrudis Bennett Football Stadium. We asked Area Representative and Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Honorable Rene Montero, to explain why his government is attaching so much importance to the development of sports and sporting infrastructure in every district.
So, year round, we have football going on because we need to work with the youths. We need to keep the youths busy. We need the youths to form bonds and friendship with one another, and we need them to use their energies in a positive way.
One of the area residents, Verna Sutherland, told us how excited she was about the improved sporting facility for Georgeville.
Well, I think it's good for the youth, help the youth. We never have this here before. And due to since UDP get in with Mr. Rene Montero, we started to have this marathon. And I think it's very good for keeping out of drugs and things. So I think that's good for them. So no one stop it, I just want to continue it every year. And I like the adding basketball.
One of the players, Fermin Wu, was also willing to tell us why sports and this new sporting facility are so important to youths his age.
Well, it is important because it gives us something to do and something to keep us out of trouble. Probably I would be on the streets if I weren't playing football regularly. It's very good for the government to be a part of an individual's life, and what Minister Montero is doing is very good for the society and the upbuilding of Belize as a nation.
Fermin also had some advice for his peers.
My advice would be to get into sports. It keeps you active, keeps you in shape, and it can carry you a long way.
For Belmopan Weekly, I am Rudy Aguilar.
The name Gertrudis Bennett is in honor of the late Belizean athlete locally known as Papi Bennett, who, besides being a great football player, took time to train other youngsters in the sport. An education revolution is underway in Belize under the leadership of Honorable Patrick Faber and his ministry, as teachers and institutions countrywide are sharpening and modernizing their skills for the task of educating and equipping the young minds of our children to build a better Belize. Up front in the pack is Santa Elena RC Primary School, which has adopted a revolutionary method of teaching developed by Dr. Spencer Kagan of the United States. Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Education, Arlette Gomez, has the full story.
The inspiration came out of a teacher's leadership program started in summer 2010 and facilitated by Abigail Wade from the Kaya District Education Center, one of two persons that attended a workshop by Dr. Kagan. In summer of this year, a group of teachers from Santa Elena Roman Catholic Primary School visited Orlando, Florida, and invited Dr. Kagan to Belize. The revolution has since gathered great momentum, as the Kagan structures and techniques are being adopted and applied throughout the classrooms. So thrilled are the educators at this institution with the level of success that they are now imparting the techniques to other teachers and institutions around the country. And earlier this week, they invited Minister of Education Patrick Faber to their school, Dr. Kagan and his son Miguel Kagan being on hand. Deborah Reno is the Vice Principal of the Upper Division.
Some of the key things that we have changed from last year, we have these children, they're seated in teams of 4. They work with face partner and shoulder partners. We also have management tips. First we used to say quiet or shut up or sit down. Now we'll do a high five or we'll do different signals.
And Ms. Rina says the transformation has been tremendously positive.
Major changes, the main one being with the behavioral problem. Last year we had a lot of children being referred to the office. Now we still have children, we still have problems, but not as much as or as many as last year. The children are accepting it, they love it, they're being engaged throughout the lessons, they're learning from their teammates as well.
Just as thrilled is the good doctor whose methods and techniques are being adopted and applied.
The reception has been fabulous. The teachers have taken this to heart, and the students are all working together and cooperating. Instead of having a teacher ask a question and have one student respond, teacher asks a question and every student responds because they're using these simple structures. If a teacher wants the students to think of adjectives to describe a character, traditionally she says, "Who in the class can tell me?" and calls on one student. We say, turn to your partner and do a rally robin. Rally robin's a structure. A says one, B says one, A says one, B says. In the same amount of time that the traditional teacher has 3 students name one adjective each, we have every student in the class name several adjectives. And the 3 students in the traditional classroom are always the high achievers. And the low achievers are daydreaming. The low achievers, their minds are off task. So at the end of the school year, the gap between the highs and the lows increases. With our method, it decreases because everybody's engaged.
As for the Minister of Education, Patrick Faber, he watched and listened and told us what he thought.
And I can tell you that I am completely impressed. The structures as we saw them in place here in this school sends a signal that things are happening. From the moment I came onto this school compound, it was clear that something was happening here that is not happening in other schools across this country. It is something positive and we certainly embrace it. I see it as something that can go well with our other initiatives in the ministry. As you know, we are undergoing the Child Friendly Schools initiative, an initiative that will be widespread across the country, improving on the quality of instruction and delivery in the classroom, and a program like this can certainly enhance what we have been doing. So as I've said to Dr. Kagan, he can expect, and those who are wishing to utilize his strategies can expect full support from the Ministry of Education and Youth, and certainly from this minister.
For Belmopan Weekly, Arlette Gomez, Ministry of Education.
As noted earlier, the methods and techniques are already being shared with other institutions in Belize. Towards this end, a 2-day workshop was held last week Friday and Saturday for administrators and teachers throughout the country. Up next, how the government of Belize is moving forward with the use of information and communication technology, and Rudy Aguilar gives us the scoop on the Halakta Road in the south. These stories when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life, as you know it, is completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at www.nemo.org.bz.
It was a day that has gone down in history. Friday, October 21st, 2011, as the amendment to enshrine in the Belize Constitution majority ownership and control of public utilities by the government and people was approved by the House of Representatives. With a full gallery inside the National Assembly, a massive crowd of cheering Belizeans from around the country gathered outside. And after more than 90 days of consultations, which saw overwhelming support from the public at large, Prime Minister Dean Barrow and the UDP government introduced the amendment to the House for debate and passage into law.
And so, Mr. Speaker, we go forward, secure in the knowledge that we are doing the right, buoyed by the cheering solidarity of the wave upon wave and rank upon rank of those that have descended upon Belmopan this morning. And certain, Mr. Speaker, of the judgment of posterity that in the story of the United Democratic Party, this shall have been our finest hour.
Light, phone, and water, forever in the hands of the government and people of Belize. History has indeed been made.
Long live our beloved Belize!
The government of Belize has been heavily investing in the development of infrastructure and technology. The Ministry of Public Service and Governance Improvement is implementing an information communication technology strategy in an effort to improve overall efficiency. Belmopan Weekly's Claudia Grouch has this report on ICT.
Over the past year, the Ministry of the Public Service has been diligently working to implant an information and communication technology strategy in Belize. With background information and the collaboration of the private and public sector, a strategy document has been developed to further strengthen our human resources. Belmopan Weekly spoke with the head of this endeavor, Mrs. Freya August, Director of Governance Improvement Unit within the Ministry of the Public Service.
ICT is pretty much an acronym which speaks of information and communication technologies. As you may be aware, one of the pillars for government within their manifesto and their promise to the people of Belize is that they are going to transform the way in which we do business.
And how is government going to transform the way in which we do business? Mrs. August spoke about e-government.
E is for electronic, and government is the structure. And so when we look at e-government, putting it together, it's whereby government uses information and communication technology to carry out its business. Ideally, it brings in the concept of business processes reengineering, because for any effective e-government program to be executed, processes need to be reengineering. Government is not here just to regurgitate around bureaucratic old processes that no longer work, but to reform those processes and to streamline what needs to be streamlined, to ensure that efficiencies can be generated from whatever reformations are done. Services online is also referred to as e-government, and that's another level where we are not there just yet, but that is certainly where we intend to go.
One of the lead regional consultants of the Caribbean, Mr. Adam Mansourine, brought his 6-year experience as the lead ICT e-government expert, having worked extensively in Trinidad and Tobago. He stated what ICT will do for our country.
In that ICT has equalized. In the past, you had to be a big country or a big company to compete and be successful in the world that we lived in. But today, ICT really flattens in so many different ways. And it enables countries like Belize and a lot of the Caribbean countries to excel and exceed and develop in a much faster way than other countries with more resources, more finance, etc. has been able to do.
And this ICT strategic plan is just that, and has been in the pipeline ever since PM Barrow's administration came into government 2008. We spoke with the Minister of Public Service and Governance Improvement, Honorable John Saldiva.
We firmly believe that the use of technology can assist our government in achieving its development goals, whether it be economic, social, cultural. And so what this workshop and what the strategic plan will do is outline the strategies to see how we can use ICT to achieve some of our economic and social development goals.
And in achieving this goal, the government of Belize, in collaboration with Beltrade, is attracting new investment in Belize using technology. Mrs. Shakira McCoy, the Director of Business and the Facilitation Unit at Beltrade, has more.
Through our business development unit and our industry specialists in the BPO information technology enabled service sector, we have been proactively promoting investments in Belize. Given our English speaking capabilities, a lot of the companies in this sector have been looking at Belize as the destination of choice. So far we have in excess of 6 companies that are seriously looking at Belize to set up operations which will hire a lot of our Belizeans and provide viable employment for them.
So, technology being the buzzword, and with the fulfillment of this government's manifesto, we see how several ministries are working in sync to take Belize to the next level, providing viable jobs in the process. The government of Belize, through the Ministry of Works, continues to enhance and upgrade infrastructure throughout the country. Belmopan Weekly went down south this week to witness exciting new developments. Rudy Aguilar has more.
We are at the dump site, that is the junction of the Southern Highway and the Halacta Road, where major road improvements are being undertaken by the government of Belize. The machinery is in full swing, the scope of work's impressive, and the forecast for the completed work, awesome. We simply had to find Mr. Kadir Henderson, Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Works, and ask him to give us all the details of such a massive movement of infrastructure and workmen.
The dump to Halacta Road is just over 20 miles, and we're putting some $48 million into it. This is our largest capital work that is ongoing at present. It's being executed by Cisco Construction Limited under the supervision of Becca International, as well as the project execution unit of the Ministry of Works. This project is funded through 4 sources: the OPEC Fund, the Kuwait Fund, or the Arab Economic Development Fund, as well as funds for the first time in infrastructure from CABE, and the Central American Bank for Economic Integration, and of course from a fraction from the government of Belize.
CEO Henderson further explained that this project isn't only vital to the development of infrastructure, but also for the creation of jobs. The employment impact arising from this project has afforded hundreds of Belizeans the opportunity to make an honest living, assisting in the growth of our jewel.
Even though it's largely a mechanized operation, there are labor-intensive components of the project: culverts, riprap, embankment protection, culvert head walls, some bridge intervention. In fact, I took a tour there with the unit, and at locations where bridges were not proposed to be replaced, we have decided to replace these bridges. So we have even expanded the project by doing a little miracle in accommodating the extra investment without the need for additional funds.
And the residents along the roadside are equally excited and satisfied with the works in progress. Not only has this project created jobs, but also plays a key role in stimulating the local economy, as area residents can attest to. Mrs. Agata Rodriguez in particular is extremely happy with the jump in sales at her grocery shop.
Well, so far, like how then they work on the road, I experienced that I sell more drinks and more chips, more biscuits, more everything. Yeah, because a lot of workers, they employ a lot of workers from Yaso, and to me, like some of the workers can still buy from me. So I think after the road finish, I think we will have better, I will have better steel. So I think the road is good. The highway is good.
For Belmopan Weekly, I am Rudy Aguilar.
The contract for the ongoing works was signed in February of this year, and actual work began just a month later in March. All work is expected to be completed by July 2014. Well, that's it for another edition of Belmopan Weekly. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to provide feedback or send in your comments, please feel free to email us at production@pressoffice.gov.bz or visit our Facebook page and let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great week. Until